Chapter 1. In 1983, South City, Lynn. Are you sure you want to give up attending Peking University to marry Elias? You are the only one in our school who has been accepted to university. It would be such a pity to give up your talent just to get married. The teacher's voice, tinged with regret, made Amelia shudder suddenly. She snatched back the admission notice that was on the table, saying, "No, teacher. I want to go to university. You are right. I should not be lost in love, but should use my strengths to contribute to the construction of our country." The teacher repeatedly expressed her approval, her face full of joy. "It's good that you can understand. I believe with your talent, you will definitely achieve great things in the future." Amelia nodded slightly, holding her admission notice as she walked out. Gazing into the distance, the sky was a clear blue, with white clouds mixed with a hint of heat. The sound of cicadas was deafening, and the streets were filled with workers dressed in green uniforms, riding bicycles. They were full of vitality, their faces radiating happy smiles. It was not until this moment that Amelia truly felt she had been reborn. She raised her hand to open the admission notice, and the sunlight spilled over it, making the calligraphy on it shine brilliantly. Amelia Lynn. Congratulations on being admitted to Peking University. Please bring your ID and admission notice to our school for registration in 15 days. 15 days later? Amelia was taken aback. That day happened to be her wedding day with Elias. In this life, she had already learned that she was a malicious supporting character in a period drama, and the male lead was none other than Elias, who had cared for her since childhood. At the age of 8, her father sacrificed his life, and her mother also passed away due to excessive grief. In her time of loneliness and despair, it was her father's comrade Elias who brought her back home. She would always remember the sunlight of that day, filtering through the phoenix trees, falling on his tall figure, as graceful as jade, as he gently reached out to her. Come home with me." From then on, he pampered her to the heavens, holding her in his hands as if afraid she would break, and cherishing her in his mouth as if afraid she would spoil. The people in the family compound all laughed and said that he was not raising a little girl, but rather a revered ancestor. Elias always smiled without saying a word, but Amelia gradually developed feelings for him. After recognizing her true feelings, she mustered the courage to confess to him. But what she received in return was a shocked expression. He said she was ridiculous. He only saw her as a niece, and accused her of disregarding moral principles, repeatedly rejecting her and treating her coldly. Unable to attain the love of her heart, she decided to take a drastic step. On the day of her coming-of-age ceremony, she drugged Elias and spent a wild night with him. This act not only caused a stir in the entire family compound, but Elias also had to marry her to preserve her reputation. But it was also from that day on that her tragic life began. She was already preparing for the wedding, and the chaos of that night led to her pregnancy, so she voluntarily gave up her Peking University admission. After getting married, she gave birth to a girl for Elias. On the day of delivery, she faced life and death, yet he didn't even show his face. Later, she learned that on that day, he had found his long-lost first love. After that, his heart was entirely devoted to first love. With a monthly salary of 300 yuan, he gave 299 yuan to first love. Out of 365 days a year, he visited first love 360 days. He doesn't come home, doesn't love her, and doesn't allow their daughter to call him dad. Even when their daughter was critically ill and desperately needed him, he changed a light bulb for first love and never looked back. On the day their daughter passed away, her hatred for first love reached its peak, and she began to frame first love again and again. Elias gradually lost patience with her and ultimately personally sent her to prison. When Amelia was beaten to death in prison, Elias and first love welcomed a happy ending. Amelia taking a deep breath, she tucked away her admission notice and walked straight home. In this new life, she would never repeat the same mistakes. As soon as Amelia pushed open the door, a tall figure brushed past her. She looked up, her heart momentarily stopping. Elias with a jawline sharp as a blade. He cast a distant gaze that held a sense of detachment. She stared blankly at that face, softly calling out, "Elias." The long-lost name made Elias pause. He furrowed his brow as he looked at the girl before him. What trouble are you causing this time? Amelia felt a sharp pain in her heart, a bitter taste rising in her throat. Since that night, Elias had only felt disgust and estrangement towards her, no longer the affection he once had. She swallowed the bitterness in her throat and said, Elias, I want a bottle of contraceptive. In this life, she didn't want their daughter to suffer in this world anymore. Elias's gaze turned cold. What do you need contraceptive for? Amelia looked up at him and said word by word, Do you want me to give birth to your child? He seemed momentarily dazed, as if he finally realized that they had not used any contraceptive methods that night. Even under the influence of drugs, he had exhausted the girl that night, again and again within her. His expression turned cold as he took a bottle of contraceptive pills from the drawer and placed it on the cabinet. Hurry up and take it. As soon as the words fell, he saw the girl in front of him grab the contraceptive pills, open the bottle, and pour them into her mouth. 1 pill, 2 pills, 10 pills, 20 pills. After downing the entire bottle, the intense effects of the medication made Amelia's face turn pale. The pain made her curl up in the corner, covering her stomach and moaning continuously. Amelia, are you crazy? Why would you eat a whole bottle? He rushed over, but she raised her pale little face. Only in this way can we eliminate future troubles. Elias, have you been looking for a woman named Gloria? In the next moment, his hand suddenly grabbed her wrist, and Elias's voice trembled slightly. How do you know? She didn't respond but continued. Today, this afternoon at 3 o'clock, she will appear at the dock. If you go now, you will still make it in time. Elias shook her hand off and stared straight at her face, hoping to find a trace of deceit in her expression. But her face showed nothing but pain. He focused for a moment. Just as he was about to ask again, his gaze suddenly caught the watch on his wrist. There was half an hour left until 3 o'clock. In the next moment, he left without hesitation, and Amelia could no longer hold on. Collapsing to the ground, the pain in her lower abdomen intensified, and Amelia lowered her gaze, hiding the determination in her eyes. That's right. This time, she is determined to personally push Elias. Oh, Gloria. Chapter 2. That night, Amelia didn't sleep well at all, so much so that when she stepped out of her room and saw Gloria on the sofa, she was in a daze for quite a while. Meanwhile, Elias was leaning down, talking to Gloria about something, his eyes filled with the joy of having regained something lost. Hearing the movement, he looked up at her, and the tenderness in his brow instantly turned cold. You're awake. Gloria is my friend. She will be staying at my place for a while, so you'd better keep your little thoughts to yourself during this time. The tone still carried a hint of warning, as Amelia's hand slowly tightened. Since she drugged him, she had become the wicked woman in his eyes. Just as she was about to nod, she saw Gloria's eyes suddenly redden, smiling somewhat forcedly. Elias, is this your fiancé? They do seem well matched. Elias's eyes flashed with pain as he held Gloria's hand. I told you. I only have a sense of responsibility towards her. The remaining words went unspoken, but Amelia knew that his love had long been given entirely to Gloria. Gloria this turned tears into laughter. Elias, seeing this, wanted to take her to see the room, but she kept waving her hands. There's no need to be so troublesome. After all, I am a guest. How can I disturb you again? I can just stay in the smallest room. Amelia suddenly interjected. Then you can stay in my room. It's a bit bigger, and it gets sunlight in the afternoon. Elias stopped in his tracks, looking at her in surprise. Gloria bit her lip and said shyly, Isn't this a bit inappropriate? Elias came back to his senses, too lazy to dwell on Amelia's changes, and gently said, No, you're not feeling well, so just stay in her room. After saying that, without waiting for Gloria to respond, he took her to see the room. Standing beside them, Amelia was in a daze for a while before following them inside. As soon as she entered, she heard Gloria exclaim in surprise, How is this room exactly the same as my previous one? Amelia, when she looked up, she saw Gloria let go of Elias's hand, touching here and there. In the end, Gloria excitedly picked up the jar of White Rabbit creamy candy from the bedside table and shook it towards Elias. I never expected that after all these years, you would still remember that I love White Rabbit creamy candy. She smiled sweetly, then put down the jar and touched the fairy tale book beside her. Lynn with nostalgia in her eyes. Even the books I love to read. You kept them for me. Elias walked over, his gaze towards her filled with tenderness. Amelia was frozen in place, staring blankly at the box of candy and the fairy tale book. The first time she met Elias was at her parents' funeral. She was only 8 years old, standing alone in front of the coffin, crying softly. It was as if he descended from the heavens. He crouched down with compassion, pulled out a White Rabbit creamy candy from his military uniform, unwrapped it, and offered it to her. Be good. Don't cry anymore. I will take care of you from now on. That night, she was taken home by Elias. That night, it rained heavily outside, and there was loud thunder. She curled up alone under the blanket, shivering. It was again him who pulled her out from under the blanket, holding her in his arms, gently telling her fairy tales. Later, this seemed to become an established routine for them. Whenever she cried, he would comfort her with White Rabbit creamy candy. Whenever it thundered, he would hold her and tell her fairy tales. She always believed that these were proofs of Elias caring for her and liking her, but it was only because of external opinions that he was reluctant to accept her. But she was not afraid, so she boldly got him drunk and slipped him that kind of drug. But now, she realized that all those good things were not exclusively given to her by him. It turned out that her attachment to his warmth was all stolen from Gloria. Amelia came back to her senses and silently stared at Gloria's back. It's okay. This time I will return everything to you. Chapter 3. In the deep of night, just as Amelia was about to sleep, the silence of the room was suddenly broken by a crisp knock on the door. Aim, are you asleep? Amelia opened the door and looked up, only to find Gloria. What is she doing here? As if sensing Amelia's confusion, Gloria held her smile, her eyes betraying a hint of pride. Elias made me some milk, and there was too much for me to finish, so I thought I'd share a bit with you. He really is something. I just got here, and he's already trying to give me all the good things, not even thinking about you. By the end of her sentence, there was a note of boasting in her tone. Drink it quickly. If it gets cold, it won't taste good. Looking at the glass that Gloria handed over, Amelia shook her head. Thank you. I won't drink anything tonight. You can keep it for yourself. After saying that, Amelia stepped forward to close the door, but was grabbed by Gloria. Gloria lowered her voice. How can you not drink? I specially prepared this for you. Amelia didn't understand her words until the next second, when Gloria suddenly splashed the cup onto herself, the light brown liquid instantly staining her entire white dress. Immediately after, the cup shattered on the ground, breaking into pieces, and she began to cry as if she were performing. Aim, I know you don't like me. I am just disturbing you and Elias. I will leave. Amelia was stunned, and before she could react, a figure rushed over and protected Gloria in their arms. Amelia looked up and collided directly with Elias's cold gaze. A chill instantly spread from her spine to her entire body. It's not me. Amelia instinctively wanted to explain, but he pushed her away with one hand. Get lost! She was on the verge of collapse, and in a moment of distraction, she fell to the ground, with glass shards piercing her palm, causing her eyes to turn red in an instant. The next moment, he began to scold her furiously. I was just wondering why you were so well behaved today. It turns out there was a trick behind it. Amelia, how could I have brought someone like you home in the first place? After the scolding, Elias picked up Gloria and walked out. Snap! The tears that had accumulated in Amelia's eyes finally streamed down her face, mixing with the blood on the ground and the shards of glass. Her heart felt heavier and heavier, and her tears flowed more and more. What kind of person is she? What kind of person is she? Indeed, she misunderstood his intentions, and it was wrong of her to recklessly drug him. However, she had clearly decided to distance herself from him now, so how could he not listen to even a single explanation? At that moment, a flash appeared before her eyes, and some words floated by. It was a barrage of comments. Amelia wiped away her tears. Finally, she struggled to stand up from the ground and staggered to tend to her wounds. The next morning, after changing the dressing, Amelia took out the admission brochure for Peking University from the drawer. She needed to prepare for the new semester, so she had to look over everything in advance. Just as she was halfway through, a cold voice rang out above her head. "Apologize to Gloria." She looked up and saw Elias standing in front of her, the indifference in his eyes piercing her heart. Amelia lowered her gaze, gripping the pamphlet tightly in her hand. Seeing her silent, Elias's expression darkened. At this moment, Gloria quickly walked over from behind to mediate, saying, "It's fine. The young girl is just throwing a tantrum. I haven't been hurt at all." Elias was even more infuriated by Gloria's generous demeanor. "Look at how Gloria is treating you, and then look at how you are treating her. Amelia, not correcting your mistakes. This is the upbringing I have taught you all these years? To know one's mistakes is to correct them. But I haven't made a mistake. What should I correct?" I said. "Yesterday I didn't spill milk on her." Amelia could no longer hold back and retorted. Elias was taken aback for a moment, his eyes suddenly blazing with anger. Just as he was about to speak again, Gloria, fearing that yesterday's incident would be exposed, quickly tugged at his sleeve, saying, "All right, Elias. Just do this for me and don't argue with the young lady anymore." She nervously changed the subject and happened to see Amelia looking at the brochure on the desk. "Peking University. Why are you looking at their admission brochure?" Amelia felt a pang of anxiety and quickly glanced at Elias, only to find his gaze also drawn to that brochure. She hurriedly pulled the admission brochure away, saying, "It's nothing, just looking casually." As soon as she finished speaking, she heard Gloria let out a light laugh. "How can you just look at it casually, Aim? Don't tell me you're thinking of taking the college entrance exam?" The disdain in Gloria's words was so sharp that Amelia was about to say something. Elias retracted his gaze, letting out a cold laugh. "She is not interested in this. Then what is she interested in?" Gloria asked curiously. Amelia felt a sudden tightening in her heart. In the next moment, the man's ruthless words fell into her ears. Seducing men. Chapter 4. Just 4 simple words suddenly turned her face pale. Amelia looked up abruptly and collided with Elias's eyes, which were filled with mockery. Isn't it seduction? She had boldly drugged him. Shame, discomfort, and countless complex emotions flooded her heart, but she was powerless to refute. So she had no choice but to put the enrollment brochure into the drawer and then silently get up and walk outside. Elias thought he had uncovered her thoughts, his voice turning cold again. "Where are you going?" Amelia softly replied. "To the hair salon. The military training requirement states that new students must have short hair." Elias furrowed his brow, just about to say something when he felt a tightness in his arm. Gloria held onto his sleeve and gently said, "Elias, let's go together. I just need to trim the ends of my hair." Elias nodded and turned to the guard beside him, saying, "Let's put the military matters aside for now. I'll handle them when I return." In front of the barber shop, the barber repeatedly confirmed with Amelia if she really wanted to cut it that short. Only when Amelia seriously nodded did the barber snip away 2 or 3 times. Soon, her beautiful waist-length hair was transformed into a neat short cut. Beside her, Elias quietly watched her silhouette, his gaze deepening. He clearly remembered that Amelia loved her long hair the most. When they were young, those mischievous boys pulling a few strands would make her cry for a long time, and he would always be flustered, trying to comfort her. Later, she confessed her feelings to him and often styled her hair into various braids, swaying them in front of him, even asking if they looked good. Her hands were skillful, and her hair was thick and black, so it naturally looked good. But he couldn't say anything because he knew they could never be together. Now she boldly drugged him, forcing him to marry her, and she spent most of her time on those braids, researching different styles, saying she wanted to be the most beautiful bride on their wedding day. But now she suddenly cut off her long hair. He felt a sudden tightness in his chest and abruptly stood up. "The wedding is about to happen. Why did you suddenly cut your hair short?" Amelia was lost in thought as she looked at herself in the mirror, only coming back to reality when he suddenly spoke. I suddenly want to change to a new hairstyle. It's also good to face the new life ahead. As for the wedding, there will be no more. They will not get married. He always felt that something was off, but he couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was. After finishing her haircut, Amelia went to a nearby photo studio. Gloria couldn't wait to pull Elias along with her. Amelia didn't want to walk with them, so she slowed her pace and fell behind. As soon as she walked in, the photographer smiled broadly, looking at Gloria and Elias with a cheerful expression. You two really are a match made in heaven. Our photo studio hasn't seen such a beautiful couple in a long time. You're here to take wedding photos, right? Gloria blushed, and just as she was about to deny it, Elias held her hand down. Let's take one photo, just to make up for the regret. The moment Amelia stepped in, her pace faltered. Make up for the regret? He clearly didn't like taking photos, yet he still hoped to take a wedding photo with Gloria, just to deceive himself that she had married him once. It seems he really likes Gloria, enough to break all principles, even if his real bride is right beside him. He doesn't care. She reached out to hold her chest, trying hard to suppress that pang of pain. It's okay. She will leave soon. You can truly be together now. The wedding photo was taken quickly. After it was done, Elias seemed to remember something and looked towards Amelia, who was standing silently not far away. What are you still standing there for? Come here. Didn't you bring me here today just to take wedding photos with me? Amelia shook her head, pointing at the enrollment template photo on the wall, and said, I came to take this today. It's not a wedding photo. Elias glanced at the template photo, frowning impatiently. You're not enrolling. So what's the point of taking this? Amelia didn't wait for his consent and just sat down in front of the backdrop. I think it looks nice, so I want to take a picture. After taking the photo, Amelia stood up to leave, but her wrist suddenly tightened. She turned back in confusion and saw Elias with a look of bewilderment and anger in his eyes. Aren't we taking the wedding photo? Amelia looked at him. Wasn't he supposed to take a wedding photo with Gloria? Why bother taking another one with her? Just like his heart, since it had already long been occupied by another person, she would not move in. She released his hand and walked straight outside. Let's take it next time. But she knew deep down, there would be no next time for them. In the middle of the night, while Amelia was in a daze, she suddenly felt the whole bed shaking. She opened her eyes and saw the world shaking around her. The entire room began to shake violently, and cracks appeared in the walls. It's an earthquake! She was suddenly jolted awake and rushed towards the door. But just as she was about to open it, she found that the door had been locked from the outside without her knowing, and no matter how hard she pulled, it wouldn't budge. Amelia felt a sudden wave of panic rise in her heart, and the intense dizziness made it nearly impossible for her to stand. She could only brace herself and pound on the door, calling for help from outside. Help! Is there anyone who can help me? My door won't open. Please help me! But everyone was too consumed by fear to help. Amelia clearly heard the screams and shouts from outside. She even heard Elias anxiously calling Gloria, but no one heard her cries for help, nor did anyone think to come and save her. She was in a panic, just thinking about how to find a way out on her own when, in the next second, the ceiling suddenly collapsed, crashing down on her. She felt a darkness before her eyes, and then she could sense nothing at all. Pain. Her whole body was in pain. Amelia struggled to open her eyes. The first thing she saw was not the white ceiling, but Elias's gloomy face. Amelia, are you out of your mind? Why did you lock Gloria's door from the outside? Do you have any idea that what you did almost cost her life? Chapter 5. Buzz. Amelia's mind was buzzing, feeling as if she couldn't hear anything at all. It's Gloria! She indeed didn't mishear the rustling sounds from last night. Amelia pinched her palm to steady her emotions. I didn't lock her door. She locked mine. Elias's expression darkened further. His eyes filled with growing anger. Amelia, not only did you do such a malicious thing, but you also lied through your teeth? Gloria is gentle and kind. How could she lock a little girl like you out? Right now, go apologize to Gloria. Every word he spoke was like a sharp knife, stabbing her heart painfully. It was Gloria who locked her door, causing her to nearly die inside. Yet Elias, without distinguishing right from wrong, forced her to apologize to Gloria. The victim apologizes to the perpetrator. In an instant, a tide of complex emotions surged towards her, aggrieved, sad, and helpless. A layer of mist involuntarily clouded her eyes, and her tone became a bit more resolute. I will never apologize for something I haven't done. At that moment, the nurse's voice sounded from behind him. Comrade Liu, please step aside. It's time to change the dressing for Comrade Lin. Elias turned around abruptly and scolded the nurse. Get out! From today on, disconnect all her medical equipment, and do not administer any medication. Wait until she realizes her mistake and apologizes to Gloria. Then you can change her dressing. After he finished speaking, he no longer glanced at Amelia and slammed the door as he left. Tears soaked the pillowcase, and Amelia closed her eyes in pain. Since the day Elias issued the order, not a single nurse dared to change Amelia's bandages. With the hot weather, Amelia's wound began to inflame and fester, even emitting a foul odor. The pain made her roll around on the bed, and her nails left marks on the wall beside the bed. The other patients in the ward could no longer tolerate it and forcibly changed rooms. In the end, she was the only one left in this ward. But she still held on, unwilling to apologize to Gloria. She was not wrong. She had never been wrong. The nurse felt a pang of sympathy, but out of fear of disobeying Elias's orders, could only chat with Amelia to distract her. As they chatted, the nurse inadvertently steered the conversation towards Gloria. Her words were filled with envy towards Gloria. Although Gloria had only sustained minor injuries, Elias still booked an entire ward for her recovery. Moreover, a whole bunch of dermatology experts were summoned to treat her. Fearing she would be left with even a small scar, Amelia grew increasingly silent in her eyes as she listened. The female lead is indeed the female lead. Even with a minor injury, she can always count on the male lead's close care. Unlike her, the vicious female supporting character, who, even when on the brink of death, can only rely on herself to endure. But what of the supporting character? She is not anyone's backdrop, nor is she a catalyst for the feelings between the male and female leads. Leaving Elias, she will create her own brilliant life. On the day of discharge, Elias carefully supported Gloria as they walked into the family compound. Meanwhile, the ailing Amelia could only drag her legs, trailing far behind. After Elias helped her back to the room and laid her on the bed, he prepared to go outside to fetch a water bottle. Just then, the landline in the living room suddenly rang. Elias instinctively answered, hearing a stranger's voice on the other end. Hello, this is the Peking University admissions office. Before the other party could finish speaking, Elias felt a sudden lightness in his hand. Then she saw Amelia rush over, snatching the microphone and saying, Hello, I am Amelia. How can I help you? The person on the other end was momentarily taken aback, then repeated the question. Amelia, hello, we are from the Peking University admissions office. You are scheduled to report to school in 5 days. Are you ready? Amelia's eyes were filled with determination. I am ready. I can come to report at any time. Just as she was about to leave after hanging up the phone, Elias's voice suddenly sounded beside her. Who just called? Chapter 6. Amelia only then realized he had been standing by her side all along. Even hearing the entire conversation, she clenched her fist and pretended to be casual, saying, No one. Wrong number. Elias looked at her like this, a hint of doubt passing through his eyes. Wrong number? How could it possibly be a wrong number? Just now, he clearly heard the words Peking University. Moreover, if it really was a wrong number, then why did she still respond that she was ready? He instinctively wanted to continue questioning, but suddenly a voice from Gloria came from the room. Elias, I'm thirsty. Hearing this, Elias couldn't be bothered to ask further and quickly prepared warm water before walking in. The moment the door to the room closed, Amelia finally withdrew her gaze and let out a sigh of relief. She was almost about to give herself away. If Elias truly wanted to press for answers, she wouldn't have any reason to deceive him. Once he found out that she was going to attend Peking University, he would definitely try to stop her. and that was the last thing she wanted to see. In the dead of night, it suddenly started to pour, with raindrops cascading down the eaves in a continuous stream, making it impossible for Amelia to sleep. She always felt that something bad was about to happen. Suddenly, a rapid knocking at the door broke her thoughts. She hurriedly opened the door and saw several people from the family compound gathered at the entrance. Before Amelia could ask anything, the leader of the group rushed to pull her away upon seeing her. Come with us quickly. Your parents' grave has collapsed due to the earthquake, and with the continuous heavy rain, it has now fallen. We must go and relocate the grave immediately. After hearing their words, Amelia felt her mind go blank, nearly losing her balance. She couldn't care about anything else and hurriedly wanted to go with them. Stop. Where are you going at this late hour? Everyone paused and turned to see Elias approaching them with a sullen face. The person in the lead was just about to explain when Amelia suddenly rushed in front of him, grabbing his collar. "Sya, Elias. My parents' grave has been washed away. We must move the grave now. I have to go." Elias, hearing this, couldn't care about anything else and grabbed her hand to leave. "I will go with you, Elias." Another voice interrupted their steps. Gloria had unknowingly opened the door and walked out. Seeing the hands they held, a flicker of jealousy flashed in her eyes, but she still maintained a sympathetic demeanor. "I'll go with you. It's good to have someone to look after." The mountain road to the Martyrs Park was rugged and bumpy, and with the pouring rain, the originally 3-hour journey took 4 hours. Along the way, Amelia silently shed tears, her eyes filled with anxiety. The person beside her tightly held her hand to offer comfort. Finally, the car stopped at the entrance of the Martyrs Park. Before the car had even come to a stop, the girl opened the door from the inside and rushed out into the pouring rain. Meanwhile, Elias followed the staff's instructions and went aside to sign. In the heavy rain, Amelia suddenly knelt down on the ground. The urn containing the ashes of Lynn's father and mother lay bare in the mud. "Dad, Mom." Ignoring the pain in her knees, she hurriedly held the urn tightly in her arms and began to walk down the mountain. Because her body was still weak, and after being caught in the rain for a long time, Amelia felt like she was about to collapse. Just as she was about to fall again, a hand steadied her. "Let me help you with that." Amelia turned around and saw Gloria looking at her with ill intentions. Her heart tightened, and she held the urn even closer. "No, thank you." But Gloria seemed to ignore her, reaching out to snatch it away. In the struggle, Amelia was pushed to the ground by her due to exhaustion, and the urn in her arms was taken away. "Don't!" Bang! The urn was violently smashed to the ground by Gloria. Chapter 7. In an instant, the urn shattered into pieces, and the ashes inside were scattered everywhere by the rain. No. Amelia's eyes instantly became hollow. She could see nothing, hear nothing, only frantically scrambling on the ground for the remnants. But the heavy rain poured down, and she couldn't retrieve anything, couldn't hold on to anything. She was utterly despairing, staggering to her feet, raising her hand and delivering a hard slap to Gloria's face. "Are you doing this on purpose?" Gloria was knocked to the ground, but her eyes were filled with mockery. "So what if I did it on purpose?" She actually admitted it. A surge of anger burned in her heart, making her limbs feel scalding hot. "Gloria, if you are dissatisfied with me, you can target me, but why do you have to attack the fallen heroes? My parents are heroes. How can you let them end up as nothing but bones, ground to dust?" She questioned hoarsely, when suddenly a roar came from afar. "Amelia, what are you trying to do by bullying Gloria time and again?" The voice came from above, and before Amelia could react, bang! A sudden sharp pain struck her face. Amelia covered her face in disbelief, her ears ringing, staring incredulously at the person in front of her. Elias hit her. Do you remember when she first arrived at the family compound? Orphaned and often bullied and beaten by other kids. After learning about it, Elias gave that group of kids a severe lesson and also warned their parents. Afterwards, he held her in his arms, his heart aching, and even someone who never shed a tear when bleeding had red eyes. I'm sorry. I promise. No one will dare to hurt you again. Over the years, he kept his word. Even when she drugged him, he never laid a hand on her. Yet now he has hit her for another woman. Tears streamed out of Amelia's eyes in a rush. She looked at Elias, heartbroken, and said, "Elias, do you know what she has done? She took my parents' urn." "Enough." Elias furrowed his brow and scolded. "No matter what she did, you shouldn't hit her." In an instant, Amelia's heart felt as if it had been pierced, making it hard to breathe. Looking at Elias, who was supporting Gloria, her eyes were filled with despair. The words she wanted to say all vanished from her mouth, and she could only let tears blur her vision. Amelia no longer looked at him, but silently knelt on the ground, picking up the remaining ashes of her parents bit by bit. She picked them up very carefully and earnestly. From dusk until dawn, she finally collected all the ashes she could gather. When the gravekeeper came to relocate her urn for burial, she shook her head, holding the urn tightly. She moved to a new place. She didn't want her parents to be disturbed any further, especially Elias. As her parents' urn was reburied, the sky began to weep with rain. Amelia fell heavily to her knees, kneeling before the tombstone. The name engraved on the tombstone pierced her eyes. She trembled as she raised her hand to gently touch the name on the tombstone. "Dad, Mom, I'm sorry." She knelt in front of her parents' graves for a long time, and only after the rain stopped did she unsteadily walk out of the cemetery. In the next moment, her vision went black, and she collapsed heavily to the ground, completely losing consciousness. When she woke up again, Amelia found herself in complete darkness, with only a faint light shining from above in the distance. She was momentarily stunned before realizing she was locked in a confinement room. She staggered to her feet, feeling groggy. Her throat was so hoarse that it hurt to speak, and she felt as weak as if she had just been pulled out of water. "Open the door! Open the door!" Soon, footsteps sounded from outside the door. Crash! The door was suddenly flung open, and the blinding light made Amelia instinctively raise her hand to shield her eyes. Then she heard a sneer. She lowered her hand and looked up, only to see Gloria standing at the door, looking down at her from a high position. "Amelia, Elias said that you must apologize to me this time, or I will cut off your water and food." Chapter 8. Amelia clenched her fist. If it weren't for the fact that she had no strength right now, she would have slapped Gloria across the face long ago. Looking at her coldly staring at him, Gloria was not angry, just smiled and said, "If you don't want to apologize to me, that's fine too, but you won't be able to leave this confinement room, and your wedding with Elias will have to be indefinitely postponed." Before the words fell, Amelia suddenly raised her head from the ground and hoarsely said, "What did you say?" Seeing her such a strong reaction, Gloria's smile grew even wider. "Elias said that the date of your wedding depends on when you apologize. If you keep refusing to apologize, your wedding will just keep getting delayed." After speaking, Gloria gave her a smiling glance and turned to leave. The door was tightly closed in front of Amelia once again. Amelia's mind was buzzing. She couldn't hear anything clearly. She didn't care at all about the wedding being delayed. But she couldn't be locked in the confinement room forever. The day for school registration was approaching. If she didn't go to register, the admission notice would be equivalent to being void. That was the spot she had worked so hard to earn, and it was currently her only way to leave Elias. Amelia forced herself to stand up suddenly, excitedly banging on the door. "I want to see Elias. I want to see Elias." Not knowing how long she had knocked, a sound of footsteps finally came from outside. In the next second, the door opened again. Elias, dressed in military uniform, coldly stared at her, while beside him stood Gloria, who had already changed back to her gentle demeanor. She first glanced at Gloria, then looked at Elias, taking a deep breath. "If I apologize to her, will you let me go?" Elias still wore that icy expression, but a strange feeling inexplicably flashed through his mind. Was she really that concerned about their wedding being delayed? In the past, when she was sternly asked to apologize, she stubbornly refused to comply. But now, upon hearing that the wedding was postponed, her attitude changed completely. He said coldly, "Yes." Amelia clenched her hands tightly at her sides. then relaxed them again. Moments later, her eyes turned red. All right, I apologize. She looked up at Gloria, facing the provocation in Gloria's eyes, and spoke each word clearly. Right, kneel down and apologize. Amelia turned pale, looking at Elias in disbelief, her body swaying unsteadily. For the first time, a plea appeared in her eyes. She couldn't do it. She couldn't kneel and apologize to a habitual liar, nor could she kneel and apologize to someone who shattered her parents' urn. She looked at him pleadingly, hoping he might show a hint of compassion, but he didn't, not even a bit. Tears streamed out uncontrollably, and she choked on her sobs. Yet he remained indifferent. Amelia was once again surrounded by a flurry of bullet screens. No, female supporting character. Don't kneel. Clearly, it's the female lead who is in the wrong. Why should you kneel when you did nothing wrong? Amelia's tears pooled into a puddle at her feet. Just as Elias was about to lose his patience, a faint voice echoed in his ear. All right, I will kneel. Thud. She suddenly knelt on the ground, but her heart was filled with infinite sorrow. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. It's my fault for not protecting you. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. I am powerless, yet I still have to apologize to those who harmed you. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. This time I must leave. Leave this home, leave South City, and more importantly, leave Elias. After apologizing, Amelia struggled to get up, no longer glancing at Elias and Gloria, stumbling as she walked towards the exit. In the next moment, her vision went dark, and she collapsed to the ground. Not far away, Elias heard the noise and instinctively looked in her direction. When he saw Amelia lying motionless on the ground, there was a panic in his eyes that he himself didn't even notice. Aim. But the person on the ground still showed no reaction. He couldn't care less about the woman beside him and rushed towards her, lifting her up in a tight embrace. Prepare the car. Go to the hospital. Chapter 9. When Amelia woke up again, she saw Elias gently sitting beside her. For a moment, she felt a bit dazed, as if she had returned to the past when she hadn't confessed to him yet, and he was at his most affectionate towards her. But in just a second, she became clear-headed again. She lowered her gaze, her tone icy. I've already apologized. What else do you want? Seeing her so indifferent, for some reason, Elias felt a strange discomfort in his heart. He wanted to say something. His thin lips moved, but he found he couldn't say anything at all. It was she who made the mistake. Punishment is deserved, isn't it? He tried hard to erase the strange feelings in his heart and handed her the document. Tomorrow is our wedding. Before that, I want to set 3 rules with you. If you agree, this wedding will proceed normally. Amelia lowered her gaze, glanced lightly, and couldn't help but laugh. First rule, do not harm Gloria. Second rule, do not show disrespect to Gloria. Third rule, after marriage, Gloria will continue to live at home, and she is not allowed to object to this. One after another, they were all Gloria. She did not continue reading. She simply picked up the pen beside her and signed her name. Elias had imagined countless reactions from her, but he never expected that she would calmly sign the document. You agreed? Why wouldn't she agree? After all, he and Gloria are the main characters. After all, they are meant to be together. After all, I also have to leave. No matter what happens between him and Gloria, it no longer concerns me. Elias felt a slight tremor in his heart. The strange feeling in his chest grew heavier, and just as he was about to say something, a sudden loud knocking came from outside. Comrade Lou, you should quickly go check on Gloria. She has fainted. Upon hearing this, Elias's expression changed, and without caring about anything else, he hurriedly got up to leave the ward. At the moment he grasped the door of the ward, he seemed to think of something and turned back to look at Amelia on the bed. I have something to do tonight, so I won't be going back. Prepare well, and I'll see you at the wedding tomorrow. At the moment the ward door closed tightly in front of her, Amelia tugged at her lips. She should indeed prepare a bit. However, it is not a wedding preparation, but rather, a preparation to leave. Peking University and South City are separated by 1,000 miles, one to the south and one to the north. From today onwards, she returns the male lead Elias to the female lead Gloria, and she, the malicious female supporting character, is completely offline. When it got dark, Amelia left the hospital early and returned to the family compound. The moment she opened the door, the inside was empty and desolate. She didn't turn on the light, just felt her way in the dark towards her room. Under the dim light, Amelia dragged a suitcase out from under the bed and turned to leave. Until she reached the door, Amelia, for some reason, turned back one last time, but because of the darkness, she saw nothing. She only vaguely remembered that at the age of 8, Elias held her hand and pushed open the door to the room. "Aim, this is your room from now on. No one will ever chase you away again. I swear, I will cherish you, love you, for a lifetime." In the next scene, it seemed she saw her 18th birthday, when in a fit of rage, she drugged Elias, and after a wild night, Elias furiously threw her off the bed. "Get out! I don't want to see you." In the end, she saw Elias holding Gloria's hand walking into this room not long ago. "Gloria, you can stay here and treat this as your home." Amelia came back to her senses and smiled gently. Indeed, this would be the home for him and Gloria from now on. She was going to live her own life now. She turned around, carrying her suitcase, and walked into the night without looking back. Chapter 10. Hospital. Elias gently stroked Gloria's forehead, and only after confirming she had a fever reduction did he breathe a sigh of relief. Outside the window, the sky is faintly brightening. Elias only remembered that today is his wedding with Amelia. He is not looking forward to this wedding at all, especially after Amelia has done so many hurtful things to Gloria. He has lost the idea of building a new family with her, but he will still give her the respect a wife deserves. Beyond that, he can give her nothing. Thinking of this, Elias held Gloria's hand. "You rest well, and I will come to see you when I finish my work." He did not mention the word wedding, as if today was no different from any other day for him, but Gloria still reddened her eyes, instinctively turning her head away. You go ahead. I wish you and her a happy marriage. May you have 100 years of harmony." Sure enough, Elias slightly changed his expression, tightly holding her hand. "I told you. I only have a sense of responsibility towards her." Gloria still turned her head away, only urging him to leave quickly. Elias was really worried about her, so he had his bodyguard stay behind to watch over her. A green Jeep sped down the empty road, finally coming to a steady stop at the entrance of the state-run hotel. The entrance of the hotel had already been adorned with red silk and various artificial flowers. The guests waiting at the door rushed over to congratulate Elias as soon as they saw him get out of the car, but he still wore that expressionless face, as if the person getting married today was not him. In the corner, the wall clock had chimed twice, but the bride, Amelia, had yet to appear. Elias stroked the large red flower on his chest, impatience gradually surfacing in his eyes. Let someone go home and take a look. Finally, he put down his hand and instructed the person beside him. The family compound was right across from the state-run hotel. Within a few minutes, the person hurried back, looking completely flustered. "Lynn, Comrade Lynn." Before he could finish speaking, another figure rushed in hurriedly. "It's bad, Lou. You should hurry to the hospital." Comrade Gloria suddenly fainted. "No matter how we call her, she won't wake up." Elias's face turned pale instantly, and he tore off the big red flower from his chest and rushed towards the hospital. But several aunts in the family compound quickly stopped him. "Elias, Aim is about to arrive. You can't leave now. If the wedding doesn't have a groom, people will laugh at us." But Elias is filled with Gloria fainting thoughts. He pressed his lips together. Gloria suddenly fainted over there. "I must go and take a look. Only then will I feel at ease. As for Aim, I would appreciate it if you aunts could help keep an eye on her. I will be back soon." After saying that, he disregarded the advice of the several aunts and hurried towards the hospital without looking back. Elias didn't even have time to stop the car, striding towards Gloria's ward, fearing that if he was even a second late, he might not see her. Just as his large hand grasped the doorknob, Voices suddenly came from inside. Gloria, are you pretending to faint to call back Director Liu? Aren't you afraid he will be angry? Elias's hand on the doorknob suddenly stiffened. Then, from inside came Gloria's mocking laughter. He loves me so much. How could he blame me? Elias's gaze instantly turned cold and hard. He suddenly pressed down on the doorknob and walked in. When Gloria in the ward saw him, her expression suddenly changed. Elias, why are you here? The person next to him, upon seeing him arrive, quickly stood up to greet him and then hurriedly left. Elias pretended to be unaware and sat back down in his chair. How is your health? Chapter 11. Hearing this, Gloria quickly lowered her head and choked out her words. I'm fine. It's just that I've delayed your wedding. If you want, you can leave first. Gloria still looked so gentle and considerate. If it were usual, Elias would have already held her in his arms and comforted her, but just now he had heard the words that Gloria had said, so he didn't make any further moves and just sat quietly in place. Gloria, seeing that he didn't comfort her as he usually did, the tears she had been holding back immediately fell. Elias. The cries that once pained him now sounded so irritating. For some reason, he suddenly thought of Amelia. Amelia would cry too, but she wouldn't sob quietly like Gloria. Instead, she would clutch his sleeve, tears streaming down her face, but not making a sound. Elias was increasingly disturbed by Gloria's cries. In the end, he suddenly stood up, leaving behind a rest well before he left. After all, today was still his wedding with Amelia. As a result, Gloria, seeing that he was about to leave, suddenly found the strength to hug his waist. Elias, please, don't go. I was wrong. I regret it. If I hadn't left you back then, would it be me marrying you today? She became more and more agitated, even begging him not to marry Amelia. She was willing to be his bride. After all, he cared about her so much. The thin layer of paper between Elias and Gloria was finally pierced by her, but there was not a trace of excitement in his heart. Elias loves Gloria, but he must now be responsible for Amelia. His love for Gloria can only be deeply hidden in his heart. Thinking of this, Elias pulled his hand away and walked out. After Gloria was pushed away, she immediately rushed back to tightly hug his waist. Just as Elias was about to say something, the ward door was suddenly pushed open. Elias, your families. Aunt Wang's words in the family compound were not finished, but upon seeing the scene in the room, the remaining words suddenly got stuck in her throat. Her face changed, and she suddenly screamed. What are you doing? What kind of behavior is this? Pulling and tugging. It was precisely because of Aunt Wang's words that the two people who were pulling at each other finally came to their senses. Elias gritted his teeth and yanked off Gloria's arm that was wrapped around his waist. Aunt Wang, it's not what you think. Just as he was about to finish speaking, Wang Aunt's expression grew increasingly unpleasant. I just said, why don't you come to get married? So it turns out to be you too. Wang Aunt was so angry that she couldn't say a word and turned to leave, but he didn't notice that behind him Elias's expression suddenly changed, and he hurriedly chased after him. Aunt, wait a minute. Who did you say didn't come to the wedding? Wang Aunt stopped in her tracks and let out a cold laugh. Humph. Who else could it be? If it were me, I wouldn't want to come to the wedding either. Pa. Wang Aunt's sharp voice drew the attention of patients in the corridor. Elias, however, didn't care about that, and stepped out of the hospital. No matter how much Gloria called out behind him, he didn't stop even once. He suddenly felt a wave of anxiety, as if a twisted rope had gripped Elias's heart, tightly coiling around it. Suffocating and painful, the front door of the house was abruptly pushed open from the outside. Elias stood at the door, panting. The sunlight outside slanted in, stirring up the dust within the room. It also allowed Elias to clearly see the scene inside the house. Sofa, dresser, table, refrigerator, kitchen. Everything was arranged just as it had been before, with nothing missing. But what was missing was the person who would excitedly rush to him upon seeing him return. Sitting on the sofa, Elias tightened his hand at his side. He tried to steady his breathing and stepped towards Amelia's room. It was only when he was about to push the door open that he remembered her room had long been given to Gloria. Elias paused for a moment and turned to walk towards the guest room. He stood at the door, lost in thought for a long time. As a soldier, his hearing was much more acute than that of an ordinary person, so even through a door, he could clearly hear the sounds coming from inside. Inside, there were sounds of the wind, birds chirping, and the ticking of a Sanwo brand wall clock. Aside from that, there is nothing else. Not knowing how long he had stood in front of Amelia's door, Elias finally opened the wooden door before him. The arrangement of the room was all reflected in his eyes. A bed, a wardrobe, a desk, a chair, a lamp, and a Sanwo brand wall clock. Aside from that, there is nothing. Elias subconsciously looked under the bed. The small leather suitcase he had brought back with Amelia was also nowhere to be found. Did Amelia leave? Does she not want him anymore? Why? Today was supposed to be their wedding. He is about to marry her. Why does she want to leave? A sudden cool breeze outside startled the person standing at the door. Lost in thought, Elias stepped into Amelia's room. He looked carefully inch by inch, hoping to find evidence that Amelia had not left. He even opened her wardrobe to take a look. Inside, apart from the red dress that Amelia was going to wear for her wedding today, there was nothing else. He suddenly tightened his grip on the wardrobe door, and his reflection unexpectedly appeared in the dressing mirror. Elias's face remained as calm as ever, but the panic in his eyes was particularly evident. Chapter 12. Suddenly, a row of strange characters appeared before him. It was the bullet screen. My goodness. The male lead finally realizes that the female supporting character has left, but I bet he definitely won't go looking for the female supporting character. That's true. He loves the female lead so much. He has done so many hurtful things to the female supporting character for her. How could he possibly go find her? Not looking for her is fine. This way, the female supporting character can live her new life without having to suffer a tragic end at the hands of the male lead like in the novel. Elias looked up sharply at the words floating by. His eyes were filled with astonishment. Male protagonist? Female protagonist and supporting female character? Death? What are these? He struggled to understand the meaning of these words. But suddenly, a wave of darkness swept over him, and he swayed, trying to hold on to the desk beside him. Yet, he suddenly lost all his strength and fell heavily to the ground with a thud. Elias was awakened by a burst of crying. He struggled to open his eyes and saw Gloria sitting beside his hospital bed. Seeing him awake, Gloria was overjoyed and hurried to the door to call the doctor. Elias didn't stop her either. He needed to sort everything out now. Just now, he fainted after seeing those strange characters. Suddenly, many characters appeared in his mind. He took a long time to realize that these floating characters were called bullet screens. It is precisely because of these subtitles that he realized he is the male protagonist in a historical novel, and Amelia is the supporting character. Gloria is the main character. Originally, he and Amelia were supposed to naturally marry and have children, but the long-lost Gloria suddenly appeared. As a result, he was controlled by the plot, repeatedly hurting Amelia for Gloria and even refusing to see their daughter for the last time. In the end, he even sent Amelia to prison, where she met a tragic death. Moreover, these words told him that Amelia had awakened even earlier than he did. That's why she thought of bringing him and Gloria together. To avoid her own tragic fate, she could have quietly exited his world after Gloria returned, but she couldn't withstand the fact that Gloria kept framing her for his sake, and he also hurt her time and again for Gloria's benefit. In the end, she had no choice but to sneak away on the eve of the wedding. Elias pressed his aching temple, but his heart was filled with shock. He did not know that his world would be a novel, nor did he know Amelia would know the plot before him. He was even less aware that the first love he longed for would be someone with such a cruel heart. He recalled Amelia pleading with him in those desperate ways. A strange, sharp pain surged through Elias's chest. He was clearly the closest person to her. He was also the person she trusted and relied on the most in her life. He had given her countless hopes. He had clearly said that he would love her forever, trust her, and always stand by her side. What did he do after Gloria came back? Chapter 13. When Gloria intentionally spilled milk on herself, claiming it was Amelia's doing, he directly pushed her down. when Gloria locked her door and framed Amelia. He scolded her and even ordered the nurse not to change her bandages. When Gloria intentionally smashed Amelia's parents' urn, he not only hit her and locked her in solitary confinement but also forced her to kneel and apologize to Gloria. One event after another played out like a movie in Elias's mind. Amelia was spoiled by Lynn's parents, who doted on her since she was little. He once swore at Lynn's parents' grave that he would not let Amelia be wronged again. But ever since he started protecting Gloria, Amelia's tears have never stopped. He even forced her to kneel and apologize to the enemies who had once persecuted Lynn's parents. Thinking of this, his fist suddenly slammed against the wall. The rough stone cut his hand, blood staining his entire palm, even soiling the hospital sheets. But Elias seemed to feel no pain at all. No pain could compare to the pain Amelia had endured back then. Suddenly, a sharp scream came from the doorway. Elias looked up and saw Gloria staring at his hand in terror. "Elias, your hand." Before she could finish her sentence, Gloria was caught in his icy gaze. The remaining words stuck in her throat. Gloria had seen Elias with many different expressions, some gentle towards her, others cruel and merciless towards Amelia, but she had never imagined that one day such a gaze would be directed at her. Gloria couldn't help but shiver, yet still managed to force a concerned smile. "Ching, Elias, what's wrong with you?" Though her words were filled with concern, Gloria clung tightly to the doorframe, unwilling to take another step forward. Elias, however, got out of bed and slowly approached her. There was little warmth in his eyes, and his tone was flat. "Gloria, why are you trying to frame aim?" The inexplicable question made her look up in confusion. What? Before she could finish, his bloodied hand suddenly gripped her throat. The force grew tighter and tighter. Gloria struggled desperately, but could not escape his confinement. Elias coldly watched the person in his hand struggle. Only when Gloria's face turned increasingly pale, nearly rolling her eyes in pain, did he finally release his grip. She was left curled up on the ground, coughing incessantly. Gloria gasped for fresh air, but before she could regain her composure, a sudden force struck her. Her whole body was instantly slammed against the wall outside the door. "Wow!" Gloria clutched her abdomen and suddenly vomited a mouthful of fresh blood. Watching Elias slowly walk towards her after retracting his legs, Gloria felt a chill run down her spine. "Ching, Elias, what on earth is wrong with you?" How could someone who had sweetly spoken to her just yesterday suddenly seem like a completely different person overnight? The coldness in Elias's eyes deepened as he half-squatted in front of her, gripping her chin as if he wanted to crush it. "Aim did nothing. Why do you keep framing her? I even want to smash her parents' urn." Gloria suddenly widened her eyes, her face as pale as paper. How do you know?" The only response to her was Elias releasing his grip on her chin. He stood up, looking down at her from above. "So why are you being so cruel?" Gloria stared at him for a long time, then suddenly laughed, a flash of malice in her eyes. "Why? Because she deserves it. If it weren't for those 10 years, it should have been me with you. But she insists on drugging you, insists on forcing you to marry her. How can I not hate?" Chapter 14. The more she spoke, the more agitated she became, even trying to grab his pant leg. "Elias, the one who should marry you is me, right? Why do you want to marry her?" Gloria's voice still carried a hint of sobbing, but Elias suddenly broke free from her hand. "Yes, she drugged me, but I was the one who wanted to marry her. I've told you before. I only have a sense of responsibility towards her. All my love is with you. Why are you so stubborn and intent on hurting her?" Gloria's hands suddenly fell down, and she mumbled some words that he couldn't understand. Now Elias didn't want to listen any longer. He just wanted to send the real culprit to prison and then find Amelia to apologize to her. Elias gestured to the 2 guards beside him, and soon they would drag Gloria away. Only then did Gloria come to her senses and struggle desperately. "No, Elias, you can't treat me like this. I am the protagonist of the novel. I am the person you will marry in the end." Elias's expression changed slightly, but just then, a bullet screen floated by in front of him. "Still the protagonist of the novel? The plot has collapsed." Why is the development of this novel getting stranger? The female supporting character leaves. The female protagonist goes to prison. And the male protagonist regrets it? Did I really see a pirated version? Elias and Gloria's quarrels had nothing to do with Amelia, who was studying at Peking University. Under the guidance of her senior, Amelia entered the building of the architecture department. After turning left and right in the building, the senior knocked on the door of a certain office. Lynn, classmate. Director Liu is inside. Okay. Thank you, senior. After Amelia thanked her senior, she walked into the office. The moment the door was closed, Director Liu, who was focused on his work, looked up. Seeing Amelia come in, Director Liu quickly invited her to sit down and handed her a study abroad agreement. Lynn, classmate. We have noticed your efforts and achievements since you entered the school. After discussions with the higher-ups, it has been decided to send you along with 10 other students to study in the United States. We hope you all can return with your degrees and make contributions to the motherland. Amelia held tightly onto the documents in her hands, her face filled with excitement. Yes, I will not disappoint the expectations of the school and my motherland. As she left the architecture department again, Amelia stood on the steps, excitedly opening the study abroad agreement. The sunlight poured down, illuminating the calligraphy above. Classmate Amelia, congratulations on joining our study abroad team. Please report to the airport on time in a month and a half. And in the corner of the agreement, there was also a ticket. Amelia held that ticket, her face beaming with happiness. She couldn't believe that one day she would be able to study abroad and learn new knowledge. If she hadn't seen those bullet screens back then, she wouldn't have awakened. Now, she would still be lost in love, wallowing in self-pity. Ultimately, she would have died a miserable death in prison. But after her awakening, she not only attended university but also studied abroad, broadening her horizons and accumulating richer knowledge. This was something she had never dared to imagine before. Yet now it was firmly in her grasp. Amelia took a deep breath and looked down the steps. On Lin Yin Road, groups of students wearing the Peking University uniform walked together, their faces full of determination and vitality. She carefully put away the study abroad agreement and air ticket, walking forward with firm steps. In the dormitory, when her roommates learned that she could study abroad, they all congratulated her. To celebrate her, they took her to a state-run hotel outside the school for a meal. While waiting for the dishes to be served, her roommates chatted with her again, thinking that they would never have the chance to meet again after she went abroad. A few of them became sad. Amelia quickly comforted a few roommates. We can still write to each other then. If I have time, I will come back to visit everyone. Only then did a few roommates stop their sadness and hurriedly said they would leave her their addresses and home landline numbers. As Amelia turned to find someone to borrow paper and a pen, a familiar figure suddenly appeared before her. That back view made her feel inexplicably anxious, and she quickly rubbed her eyes. Did she just see Elias? Chapter 15. But when Amelia put her hands down again, there was nothing in front of her. Aim. What are you looking at? The call of her roommate pulled her back. Amelia shook her head and handed over the borrowed pen and paper to her roommate. As her roommates filled out their contact information and addresses, Amelia instinctively wanted to glance at the subtitles in front of her, but she suddenly remembered that since she left, the subtitles had also disappeared. After finishing dinner, Amelia said goodbye to her roommates and walked straight to the bookstore. She wanted to make the most of this remaining time to prepare more, buying some books to learn about the United States in advance. Just then, a long-lost yet familiar voice came from behind. Aim. Amelia's body suddenly stiffened. She had heard that voice 1,000 times, but never once had it made her feel as cold all over as it did now. Amelia slowly turned around and saw Elias striding towards her. When Elias saw Amelia again, his empty heart was once more filled. 2 years! After a full 2 years, he finally found her. At first, he intended to use the bullet screen to check Amelia's descent. Little did he know that the bullet screen disappeared along with Gloria's imprisonment. He had no choice but to rely on various connections to find her. Until half a year ago, someone had seen Amelia's figure at Peking University in advance. He immediately applied to the organization to be transferred to F City. As soon as he arrived in F City, He didn't even attend the welcome party and went straight to Peking University. At this time, Amelia had long shed her youthful innocence, and her once short hair had grown to her waist. His eyes reddened slightly, and he stepped forward to embrace her. Amelia looked at Elias. Her eyes filled with complexity. After 2 years apart, there was an added weariness in Elias's eyes, and he looked much thinner. Just as Elias was about to pull her into his arms, Amelia suddenly spoke up. "Elias, why did you come?" Clearly, she had already pushed him into the arms of the female lead. Clearly, she had already distanced herself from his and Gloria's lives. Clearly, she was about to embrace her new life. Why couldn't he just let her go and stop looking for her? Does he have to drag her into the abyss to be satisfied? Elias instantly froze in place. The words he had accumulated over 2 years suddenly stuck in his throat. Seeing that he didn't answer, Amelia became agitated and pushed him. "Why do you still want to find me? Why won't you let me go?" Amelia had not finished her words when suddenly everything went dark before her eyes, and she fainted completely. Outside the ward, the doctor wearing a mask frowned as he looked at Elias. "Are you a family member of the patient? Do you know that the patient is in poor health and cannot handle stimulation?" Elias stood opposite, lowering his head as he listened to the doctor's accusations. Upon hearing that Amelia was in poor health, he quickly raised his head. Her previous health check reports have always been fine. How could she suddenly be in poor health? The doctor's brow furrowed even deeper. "Aren't you a family member of the patient? How come you don't even know her condition?" We re-examined the patient and found many scars on her body that had healed after suppuration. Additionally, her heart and lungs have some after effects due to being compressed by heavy objects. Therefore, the patient needs to rest well, avoid overexertion, and must not be subjected to any stress. The remaining words Elias could no longer bear to listen to. He suddenly remembered that year during the earthquake, when he was so focused on saving Gloria that he left her forgotten in the ruins for an entire night. Afterwards, in order to force her to apologize to Gloria, he cut off all her medication. The hand he tightly gripped at his side turned pale from the excessive force, regret spreading throughout his body. If only he had rescued her from the ruins in time and hadn't cut off her medication, would her health have deteriorated so much? Elias looked up through the thick green glass at the ward. Amelia lay on the hospital bed, sleeping deeply as usual. Only the 4 drip hanging from her right hand reminded him that she was ill. Chapter 16. In the deep of night, a nurse came to remove the 4 from Amelia. The pain in her hand made the person in the hospital bed furrow her brow. When Amelia awoke, she saw Elias pressing a cotton ball against her hand. She instinctively tried to pull her hand back, but he was quicker to hold her down. "Don't move. The bleeding hasn't stopped yet." Amelia turned her head away and stopped looking at him. After a while, Elias finally tossed the cotton swab into the nearby trash can. Please leave. I don't want to see you." Amelia's coldness and detachment pierced his eyes. He reached out his hand wanting to hold hers, but she withdrew her hand first. "I already know. I know we live in a world of novels. And I also know what Gloria did to you. I'm sorry for all the grievances you've suffered." The belated apology did not move Amelia even a little. In fact, it made her suddenly laugh out loud. "So, a light-hearted apology is supposed to cover up the harm you all did to me? No, that's not it. I never meant to hurt you. I just what?" Amelia suddenly sat up in bed, her eyes filled with mockery. She raised her hand to reveal the grotesque scar on it. "These scars remind me constantly of what you did to me. Tell me, you hurt me." Her eyes grew colder. "You decorated my room to look like what Gloria likes. All the affection you gave me, you first gave to her. You only have a responsibility towards me, because all your love is with her." Every word she spoke revealed his love for another woman. Elias's pain in his eyes deepening. "No, I don't love her. I only love you." He anxiously grasped her hand. "The one I have always loved is you." Indeed, Elias has truly fallen for Amelia. Before meeting Amelia, he had thought about starting a new family with Gloria, but she suddenly disappeared. While feeling sad, he gradually let go of that thought. Later Amelia entered his life, and his heart gradually became attracted to her. When he heard her confession, he was both surprised and delighted. Delighted that the girl he liked also liked him. Surprised that their identities would be ridiculed by outsiders. What if the girl couldn't bear it? Especially after the bold girl drugged him. His worries about her grew more and more. He could only temporarily distance himself from her, allowing both of them to calm down. But just then, Gloria suddenly reappeared in his world. Regarding Gloria's reappearance, he felt no great surprise. These years of searching were merely for an answer. Why did she leave him? So he sought out Gloria under the guise of calm reasoning. But when he saw Gloria again for the first time, as she pleaded with him not to leave, a voice suddenly emerged within him, incessantly hypnotizing himself. Stay. Stay. You still love her. It was from that moment that his heart suddenly filled with Gloria's image. Elias kept explaining, but for Amelia, who had long since given up on him, it was of no use. She broke free from his hand and called his name again after many years. Elias. Amelia closed her eyes in pain. I drugged you. You lost your beloved because of it, and our grievances could have been resolved. But you protected the woman who shattered my parents' urn and forced me to apologize to her. I cannot forgive that. I can only manage not to hate you, and I can never love you again. Chapter 17. Elias grabbed her hand and suddenly let go, a hint of bitterness spilling from the corner of his mouth. It's fine if she doesn't forgive him. At least he still holds some status in her heart. There is still plenty of time. They can take it slow. The next day, after recovering, Amelia was ready to be discharged. But just as she reached the hospital entrance, Amelia was stopped in her tracks by a green Jeep. The car window rolled down, revealing Elias's face. Amelia didn't want to look at him, but the car behind them kept honking. In the end, she still got into the car, allowing him to take her away. The car stopped at the entrance of the family compound. Amelia opened her eyes and realized she hadn't returned to school. She looked at Elias with confusion. Just as she was about to speak, she heard him explain, "Aim, you just got out of the hospital. Staying here is quiet and good for your health. I have also prepared a room for you again. Would you like to go see it?" Amelia paused, suddenly thinking about her being sent to study abroad in the United States. The school had specifically suspended her classes so that she could fully prepare for going abroad, because her schedule was completely out of sync with her roommates. Amelia originally planned to reapply for a single dormitory or to move out, but she didn't expect Elias to have arranged it for her first. Amelia didn't say anything either, and followed him into the house. As Elias opened the door, Amelia looked surprised. She thought her room would be exactly the same as before, filled with all the things Gloria liked. But she didn't expect it to have a different style, filled with all the things she liked. Elias could see that she was lost in thought. Just as he was about to say something, Amelia suddenly said thank you, and then closed the room door in front of him. In the evening, Amelia made a phone call to both her teacher and roommate to explain the situation. By the time she hung up the phone, Elias had just placed the prepared dishes on the table. Amelia sat at the dining table, watching the steaming dishes, a hint of days flickering in her eyes. Since childhood, he had taken care of everything for her, including her 3 meals a day. Even if he had urgent matters in the army, he would prepare the meals in advance and put them in the refrigerator, then ask other aunts in the family compound to help her heat the dishes. Over time, she also became picky about food. Apart from the meals he personally cooked, she would only eat a couple of bites of anything else. But later Gloria never cooked for her again after she returned. She gradually gave up this habit, especially after arriving in F City. She became increasingly picky due to the change in environment, and her appetite diminished. So when he once again served her the dishes he had personally prepared, Amelia only casually ate a few bites. Seeing the nearly untouched food, Elias couldn't help but feel a bit worried. "Why aren't you eating? Is the food not to your taste?" Amelia shook her head, simply saying she was full. Then she got up and returned to her room, leaving Elias staring blankly at the table full of food. In the deep night, heavy rain poured down. Amelia was unable to sleep due to the old injuries on her body acting up, and because she had come to Elias's house in a hurry. The medicine for her wounds was left in the dormitory. Just as Amelia was thinking of enduring it for one night and going back to school in the morning to get the medicine, a sudden knock on the door echoed. Aim. Amelia was taken aback, but still fumbled in the dark to open the door. In the dim light, Elias handed her the bag he was holding. Here, last time at the hospital, the doctor had mentioned it to him a bit more. Amelia, the injuries on her body were due to inadequate and untimely treatment at the time, so they would flare up every time it rained. For this reason, when he saw it starting to rain outside, he hurried to the hospital to get some medicine. Amelia bit her lip, just about to say thank you. Elias spoke first. Aim, you don't need to thank me. After all, we are family. Elias originally wanted to say they were husband and wife, but suddenly remembered they hadn't even held a wedding. But Amelia seemed not to have heard at all. She insisted on saying thank you. Chapter 18. Elias suddenly. He didn't know how to continue the remaining words. Amelia glanced at the bag and immediately saw the plaster she needed. As she picked it up to return to her room, Elias suddenly grabbed her hand. Aim, and this too. Elias quickly handed her another scar-removing plaster. He specifically asked the doctor, and this type of plaster is very effective for old injuries. No one dislikes beauty, let alone Amelia. He still remembers that Amelia cried for a long time when she scraped her skin from a fall as a child. I'm just afraid of leaving scars on myself. Amelia looked at the plaster on his hand, lowering her gaze to hide the sarcasm in her eyes. If he hadn't disconnected her medical equipment back then, and if the nurse hadn't refused to give her medication, her scars wouldn't have remained until now. After arriving in F City, her roommate took her to the hospital, and the doctor had also recommended similar plasters, but she still refused. Because, no need. These scars are fine as they are. At least they remind me of that pain. After saying that, she no longer looked at his reaction and closed the room door. When Amelia went out the next day, she immediately saw the scar cream on the cabinet next to the room door. She immediately withdrew her gaze and was about to walk outside. At this moment, Elias, dressed in his combat training uniform, walked out. When he saw her, he spoke while heading outside. Aim, is there anything you want to eat or buy? I'll bring it back for you. The scenes that used to unfold every day now have no one to respond to him. Elias instinctively glanced at Amelia. She was staring at him expressionlessly while holding a book, with a hint of confusion in the corners of her eyes. But in Elias's eyes, that hint of confusion seemed more like mockery, mocking his self-indulgence. Amelia withdrew her gaze and walked straight outside. When she came out of the library again, Amelia looked gratefully at the male classmate in front of her. Mario, thank you so much today. Because Amelia was going abroad for the first time, she wasn't very familiar with this aspect. Fortunately, Mario was there to answer her questions. Mario instantly turned red in the ears, scratching the back of his head in embarrassment. It's just a small matter. No need to be so polite. By the way, Lynn classmate, do you have time now? Amelia looked at him in confusion, just about to speak when a voice suddenly came from behind. Aim. The two turned around and saw Elias in military uniform getting out of the jeep. Lynn classmate. Who is this? Amelia finally reacted and hurriedly said, he is Elias. Mario quickly greeted Elias. Elias. Hello. I am Lynn classmate's classmate. Elias nodded and turned to look at Amelia. Let's go home. Amelia shook her head. No, Elias. I have something else to do. Elias furrowed his brow slightly. Amelia no longer looked at him, turning to Mario to say she wanted to treat him to a meal. State-run hotel. In the lull while waiting for the dishes, Amelia and Mario chatted about their studies. Elias could only listen quietly from the side, unable to interject. He watched Amelia with great enthusiasm, a hint of daze flashing in his eyes. Elias's memories still lingered on Amelia's childhood. At that time, she was all about him, and the thing she looked forward to the most every day was waiting for him to come home. It could be said that at that time, Elias was her entire world. But now, Amelia's life has become even more exciting. She can study the majors she likes, read the books she enjoys, and discuss related issues with her classmates. Do anything she loves. While Elias feels proud of her, a sense of loss also rises in his heart. It seems that the distance between him and her is growing further. "Comrade, step aside quickly!" A shout came from behind the three, and when Elias came to his senses, he saw a waiter approaching with a steaming bowl of soup. But before the waiter could set the dish down, a few playful children suddenly burst in and collided with the waiter. The waiter was knocked off balance, and the soup in the bowl spilled out. Aim. Seeing the scalding soup about to splash onto Amelia, Elias quickly shielded her in his arms. The boiling soup instantly splashed all over his back. The burning pain, like ants biting, spread throughout Elias's entire body, but he couldn't care less. He hurriedly checked Amelia from head to toe. After confirming she was fine, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Only then did she feel the pain in her back, and her face turned pale. Elias. Chapter 19. Amelia's eyes flashed with panic, and without caring about anything else, she hurriedly took Mario and the person to the hospital. While Elias was treating the burn in the emergency room, Amelia was also called away by a familiar doctor. Every time it rained, the scars on Amelia would ache unbearably. For this reason, she often came to the hospital to get medicine, and over time, she became familiar with Dr. Liu. The last time she fainted and was taken to the hospital, it was also Dr. Liu who treated her. Dr. Liu handed the last consultation report to Amelia and informed her that her health was deteriorating and she needed to undergo surgery as soon as possible. Otherwise, her physical condition would continue to worsen. Amelia looked at her consultation report. Her eyes filled with complexity. If she were to have surgery, not only would she have to spend a large sum of money, but it would also take up a significant amount of time. Moreover, she was about to study abroad, and time was of the essence. She tucked the consultation report away, thanked Dr. Liu, and then got up and left. As soon as she stepped out, she bumped into Mario's worried eyes. "Lin, classmate, are you okay?" The room was not soundproof, and he could vaguely hear some conversations inside. Amelia let out a long sigh. "It's nothing, just a minor surgery, but after this surgery, I will definitely have to lie in bed for a while. Then the matter of studying abroad will surely be delayed." Should she go ahead and delay studying abroad, or should she not? Given her current health condition, she couldn't afford to postpone any longer. Just as Amelia was caught in a dilemma, a voice suddenly rang out from above her. "Are you going to study abroad?" Amelia instinctively looked up and saw Elias standing in front of her, having tended to his wounds. His pale face was filled with panic. Amelia lowered her gaze, pondering what excuse to use to brush it off. Elias quickly took her hand. "Aim. If you don't say anything, I can also ask your classmates or teachers to clarify." Amelia felt a surge of inexplicable anger rise within her. In the past, she didn't want to tell him about her departure because he didn't love her, and she had also lost all feelings for him. Wherever she goes is none of his business. Now she is unwilling to tell him about her departure because they no longer have any relationship. Wherever she goes is her freedom. Seeing her with her head down and saying nothing, Elias felt a flicker of pain in his eyes. They had clearly once been the closest of people, but because of him, she was unwilling to say even a single extra word to him. Seeing the two of them like this, Mario was just about to offer some advice. Then he heard Amelia tell him to go back to school first. She really didn't want others to see this kind of thing. After all, it was someone else's family matter, so Mario could only leave first. After Mario left, Amelia finally looked up at Elias and said calmly, "Didn't I tell you? What are you planning to do to keep me here and not let me leave? Have you considered my feelings in what you want to do?" Elias stiffened, unable to say a word. Upon hearing Amelia was going to study abroad, Elias didn't think much of it. He was only focused on wanting her to stay. He simply couldn't bear the pain of losing her again. As for Amelia's feelings, he really hadn't thought about them. Amelia let out a cold laugh at the sight of him. "Elias, you are just my ordinary friend. Where I go and what I do is my freedom. I don't need to report to you like those soldiers you lead every moment." After saying that, she broke free from his hand and walked out of the hospital without looking back. "Aim." Elias quickly chased after her, blocking her way and explaining in a fluster, "I didn't mean it that way. I'm just worried about you. Amelia suddenly stopped, almost colliding with Elias. Elias, I have already reached an age where you need not worry about me. I am now a college student, and I can take good care of myself. You no longer need to worry, especially since, Chapter 20. She did not want to say any more, but Elias understood. When Amelia needed him the most, he was with another woman, accompanying the mastermind behind her framing. Those past memories resurfaced in his mind. When she was injured by the broken glass, he was with the mastermind behind her framing. When she was buried underground and her wounds were festering, he was also with the mastermind behind her framing. Her parents' urn was smashed, and when she was in despair both physically and mentally, he was still accompanying the mastermind who framed her. Elias's heart felt as if it were tightly gripped by a large hand, causing him to see flashes of darkness before his eyes. Watching Amelia turn and leave, he instinctively wanted to chase after her. In the next moment, he suddenly lost all his strength and fell heavily to the ground. The loud noise not only startled the people around, but even the distant Amelia instinctively turned her head back. Upon seeing who was on the ground, she widened her eyes in shock. Elias, after fainting, had a long and terrible nightmare. In the dream, he saw Amelia, who had not awakened the malicious thoughts of a female antagonist, heart-wrenchingly questioning him about why he wanted to find Gloria. He also saw Amelia, with a face ashen, kneeling in front of the small tombstone, crying until she fainted. In the end, he saw Amelia, a pitiful sight, lying motionless on the ground in the corner of the prison, with no breath left. Then he saw the awakened malicious female antagonist Amelia standing in the distance, looking at him coldly. Elias, I hate you. From now on, let's not meet again. After saying that, she no longer looked at him and walked away without turning back. He desperately chased after her, but his feet felt as if they were nailed to the ground, unable to move an inch. No, don't go. Aim. Elias suddenly woke up from the nightmare, cold sweat soaking his back. He gasped for breath, but found that there was no one around. Elias thought of that nightmare, feeling increasingly anxious. Just as he was about to get up to find someone, the ward door was pushed open by Amelia from the outside. Aim. Elias was overjoyed and wanted to hug her, but Amelia only glanced at him, turned to call the doctor. When the doctor came to examine him, Amelia just quietly sat by the side. Instead, the doctor looked troubled, repeatedly flipping through Elias's medical records, unsure of how to speak. Elias probably had a guess in his heart. Just as he wanted to ask Amelia to go out first, she stood up and walked out. The attending physician finally let out a long sigh of relief, then looked seriously at Elias. Director Liu, given your current health condition, you must undergo surgery immediately. Elias's hand, resting on the blanket, suddenly tightened, and he heard the doctor continue speaking. Due to years of heavy drinking, combined with irregular habits, your heart is under strain. If no intervention is made, you might. This time you only fainted, but if you faint again next time, you may not wake up. Elias understood immediately. During the 2 years that Amelia was gone, he often took on various complex and difficult tasks to keep himself busy. As long as he kept himself busy, he could temporarily avoid thinking about her and not constantly fall into despair. But tasks always come to an end, and during his free time, he would drink to numb himself, deceiving himself that Amelia had not left. Over time, his body was no longer as it once was. The accompanying military doctor had advised him, but his heart had died with Amelia's departure. How could he still care about his own body? Chapter 21. The doctor spoke intermittently, and Elias listened carefully. In the end, he confirmed the date of the surgery with the doctor. It would be in a month. He has now found Amelia again, and naturally, he needs to take care of his health. Otherwise, how could he take good care of her? In addition, he asked the doctor not to tell Amelia about the surgery he was going to have. He didn't want her to worry about his issues, even though she had long since stopped caring about him. Outside the door, Amelia was quietly sitting on a chair, and the fragmented conversations from inside drifted out. Yet she didn't listen closely, nor did she want to. Ever since reuniting with Elias, she seemed to have become a regular at the hospital. She frowned slightly and saw the doctor come out and nod at her. Comrade Lin, Director Lu's health is no longer a major concern. Just be sure to pay attention to rest moving forward. Amelia quickly got up to thank him before walking inside. I just made a phone call to have your nanny come over. Elias, after all, still had tasks to attend to and couldn't be there to take care of her all the time. So on the second day after Amelia moved in, Elias asked the aunt in the courtyard to help find a nanny. Elias was just about to refuse, saying he could take care of himself. Amelia spoke up first. I have things to do at school, so I'll be leaving first. In a certain classroom at the school, the leading teacher responsible for taking Amelia and the others abroad was handing out relevant materials to everyone. While handing out the materials, he was also explaining them to everyone. These are some relevant experiences written down by teachers and senior students who have studied in the United States before. Everyone can refer to these. And in addition, you all need to make sure to prepare in time. After all, we will be going abroad in a month and a half. Everyone nodded repeatedly. It wasn't until evening that the group finally walked out of the classroom. At that moment, someone suddenly called out to Amelia. Lin, classmate, are you free tonight? The teacher wants to invite us to her house for dinner and to send us off. Amelia thought for a moment and finally went to the teacher's house with them. As the cups were exchanged, everyone was moved and sang farewell songs. Sitting quietly to the side, Amelia also silently reddened her eyes. At the moment of farewell, the last one walking, Amelia was suddenly called by the teacher. Aim, this is for you. Under the moonlight, a Hero brand fountain pen shone brightly. The teacher handed her the pen in her hand. Aim, the teacher hopes that after you go to the United States, you can use this pen to write a more brilliant life. Amelia felt a warmth in her heart and solemnly accepted the pen. Late at night, Amelia slowly opened the front door, but she found a dim desk lamp still lit in the dark room. On the sofa, Elias was reading a newspaper. Hearing the noise, he quickly raised his head to look at her. Why are you back so late? Amelia paused her steps and looked at the person on the sofa. Suddenly, she remembered that long ago, she often sat on the sofa waiting for him. Now it has become Elias waiting for her. She lowered her eyes and said calmly, I had dinner at the teacher's house with my classmates. She didn't want to say much more to him and was about to walk towards the room. Aim. Just as Amelia was about to close the door to the room, Elias suddenly called out to her. She didn't turn around, just stood there quietly. Seeing her like this, Elias felt an inexplicable pain in his heart, but still said, the day after tomorrow is your birthday. What do you want to do? Birthday? Amelia looked a bit confused. Since that night when she turned 18 and that incident happened, she no longer wanted to celebrate her birthday, because every time her birthday came around, she would think of that day, and of the things he did to Gloria afterward. Elias waited a long time without receiving her answer. Just as he was about to ask a few more questions, her cold voice suddenly echoed. It's not trouble for Elias. I just won't celebrate my birthday. The door was tightly closed in front of Elias, and he looked at that door, his gaze deepening. Although Amelia said she wouldn't celebrate her birthday, that day Elias still specially postponed his tasks to come to school to pick her up. He waited for a long time at the school gate but did not see her come out. Just then, a loud explosion suddenly came from not far behind Elias. Then, flames shot up into the sky, engulfing everything around. The fierce fire and thick smoke rose into the air, filling it with a suffocating, acrid smell. People fled in all directions, and cries filled the air. Chapter 22. Elias was shaken by the shockwave of the explosion. Suddenly, a long-lost bullet screen floated before his eyes. How long has it been since I last saw such a plot develop like this? What are you still doing? Male lead? The female supporting role is still inside. Hurry up and save them. Elias's face suddenly turned pale. Aim. Aim is still inside. Elias didn't care about anything else and rushed towards the fire. The rescuers who arrived quickly stopped him. Commander Lu, please don't act impulsively. The situation inside is dangerous. You cannot go in. Get lost. My family is still inside. After saying that, he pushed aside the rescuers. threw on his wet coat, and rushed in without looking back. With his rich rescue experience, Elias quickly found Amelia lying on the ground in a corner. His heart tightened, and he rushed over to pick her up. Aim, wake up, don't sleep. Amelia was shaken awake by him, and as soon as she opened her mouth, she started coughing uncontrollably. Elias didn't care about anything else and hurriedly picked her up to rush outside. But just as the two escaped, another explosion sounded behind them. Bang! Accompanied by intermittent explosions, debris and fragments flew in all directions like arrows. Be careful! Elias quickly knocked Amelia to the ground, tightly protecting her beneath him. Elias. She watched in horror as the man shielded her, enduring the onslaught of those shards. The next moment, she felt sticky blood flowing down her face. It wasn't her blood, it was Elias's. Her pupils dilated, staring unblinkingly at the bloodied man before her. Aim, don't be afraid. I'm fine. He trembled as he reached out to comfort her, but his outstretched hand fell limp the next moment. A week later, after having undergone several major surgeries, Elias was finally brought back home. Amelia poured a cup of water from the kettle, placed the enamel cup on the bedside table, and then quietly sat by. The room instantly fell silent, with only the ticking sound of the clock on the table. Amelia did not speak, and Elias said nothing either. After going through so many surgeries, his energy was not what it used to be. After handing her the birthday gift he had prepared in advance, he fell into a deep sleep again. Amelia looked at the gift in her arms for a long time, and finally began to unwrap it little by little. Inside, besides a butterfly brand women's watch, there was also a ring. If it weren't for those things back then, this ring would have been on her finger. Amelia touched the ring, then looked up at him, her eyes filled with complex emotions. The things she needed to say had already been made clear to Elias long ago. The only thing she could accept now was to return to the uncle-nephew relationship with Elias. But Elias doesn't seem to want that now. He has talked a lot with her these days. The words all imply that he wants her to give herself another chance. Amelia knew deep down that she couldn't do it. Those things always stood between them, and neither could get past them. So no matter what he said, she remained silent. Now Elias still uses this method to test her. He fantasizes that seeing the old things will remind her of his past goodness. Hoping to move her, Amelia said nothing, just placed the gift back into the box and set it down beside his bed again. Knock knock. The front door was knocked on. Amelia quickly left the room to open the door. I watched as the various families in the courtyard carried eggs, milk, and apples around the front door. Seeing her come out, everyone rushed to stuff things into her arms. Startled, Amelia quickly refused, saying it wasn't necessary, but the crowd seemed not to hear, directly placing the items at the doorstep. Aim, we heard that Lou, the leader, was injured while saving someone. As a great hero, we also want to show our appreciation. This is just a small token of our gratitude. Please accept it. Amelia really couldn't decline any longer, so she had to put these things away in the cupboard. Then she hurriedly wanted to invite everyone to her home. Everyone quickly declined, saying they had things to do at home, and after chatting with her for a few moments, they dispersed. Chapter 23. Amelia watched them leave before turning back to her home. Amelia, are you home? There's a letter for you. The postman's shout not only made Amelia stop in her tracks before entering the door, even the sleepy Elias was awakened by the noise. When he stepped out of his room wearing a coat, Amelia was already slinging her bag and heading out. Aim, where are you going? Amelia said as she walked out. My friend is coming from South City to see me, and I need to go to the train station to pick her up. Elias said he would accompany her to pick her up, but Amelia didn't give him a chance at all and had already walked far away. At the train station, her friend Roma excitedly hugged her and said, Aim, long time no see. Amelia also teared up and hugged her back. After they exchanged pleasantries for a while, Amelia took her friend to the Peace Hotel to check in. Once they returned to the room, Roma handed over the special products she had brought from South City to Amelia. Amelia looked at the local specialties, her words filled with nostalgia, and she pulled Roma into a conversation about the past. Somehow, the topic turned to Elias and Gloria. After you left, Elias went crazy, searching for you everywhere. He even sent Gloria to prison, saying that she could only get out when you returned. Also, Elias originally wanted to apologize at your parents' graves, but he was never able to find them. Amelia didn't say much, just quietly listened to Roma talk. I heard that Elias came to F City half a year ago. So you guys. Amelia paused and said calmly, I'm currently living at his house. Roma was alarmed upon hearing this and said anxiously, so he hasn't done anything to you, right? Amelia smiled and shook her head. No, and I don't have any feelings for him either. After all, I can't forgive. Roma finally breathed a sigh of relief. I'm just afraid you'll be bullied by him again. Those things that happened back then were really too much. I've never seen a groom who runs away from his wedding. Roma, whenever she thinks of the past, she starts to scold again, scaring Amelia, who quickly pulls her back and persuades her for a long time before she calms down. In the following 2 days, Amelia specifically took time to bring Roma to climb the Great Wall and visit the Forbidden City. Finally, they also went to Gwangju to eat Peking duck. After finishing their meal, Amelia was just about to take Roma back to the hotel when a green Jeep suddenly appeared in front of them. As soon as the car window was lowered, Elias's familiar face appeared in front of Amelia. Elias, what are you doing here? Elias gave her a deep glance. He hadn't seen her return for 2 days. If it weren't for someone constantly updating him on her whereabouts, he would have almost thought Amelia had disappeared. After thinking it over, he still decided to go out and look for her. He wanted to see her. He cleared his throat twice. Just passing by. Let's go. I'll take you back. Amelia didn't want to take his car, but Roma had already pulled her into the car ahead of her. All the way, Roma secretly mocked Elias, but Elias was in a good mood and listened the whole way, not uttering a single rebuttal, until Roma was picked up by a relative of the Wong family. Elias finally turned the car around and headed home, but the silent Amelia suddenly spoke up. Elias, take me back to school. Elias was startled and slammed on the brakes, a hint of panic flashing in his eyes. What's the point of going back to school? Amelia didn't want to beat around the bush with him anymore. I have something to do. By the way, I won't be going to Elias's place anymore. After all, she was about to go abroad. After saying that, she turned her head, but her hand suddenly tightened. Why? Are you really going abroad? Elias suddenly remembered the last time he heard her talking with Mario in the hospital. He knew she was going abroad, and he couldn't, nor did he want to, stop her from going, but he thought that time was still long, and he could wait for her to come back. Yet she had never told him which country she was going to, when she would return. Elias's heart was beating faster and faster, and even holding her hand began to tremble slightly. Amelia just quietly looked at him for a long time, then withdrew her hand. Elias, drive me back to school, okay? In the end, Elias still swallowed the bitterness in his mouth. Chapter 24. In half a month Amelia will be going abroad. After packing all her luggage, Amelia first went to the hospital for surgery, and then said goodbye to her friends and family one by one. She even bought a train ticket back to South City to say goodbye to her parents. In front of the Green Mountains, Amelia looked at the photo of her parents on the tombstone, placing the flowers and fruits she had bought in front of it. Then, with a thud, she knelt down and bowed 3 times. Mom and Dad, this farewell. I don't know when we will meet again. Amelia plans to study abroad in the United States and then continue her education there. She hopes to gain some advanced knowledge to come back and serve her motherland, but she is not clear in her heart about when exactly she will return. Amelia, it could be 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years, or even longer. She reached out to silently wipe away the dust on her parents' tombstone, and finally left the cemetery reluctantly. Upon returning to F City, Amelia was stopped by Elias's guard as soon as she got off the train. The guard, with a pleading expression, asked Amelia to persuade Elias. Last time Elias fainted, the doctor suggested he undergo heart surgery. Elias agreed quite well. Originally, Elias was supposed to be admitted a few days ago for pre-surgery preparations, but unexpectedly, he just didn't go. Many people came to persuade him. At first, Elias was quite agreeable, but later when more people came to persuade him, Elias directly locked the door. The guard, too, was left with no choice and thought to find Amelia. Amelia thought for a while before getting into the guard's car and returning to the Liu house with him. The house still looked the same as when she left, except that Elias's door was tightly shut. Amelia stood in front of his door, took a deep breath, and then knocked on the room door. Soon, a coughing sound came from inside. "Who?" "Elias. It's me. Can we talk?" After a long time, there was still no response from inside. Just as Amelia was about to give up and leave, a sound of footsteps came from inside, and then the door was opened from within. It had only been a few days since they last met, but Elias's face was pale, and his clothes hung loosely on him. "Why don't you go for surgery?" Amelia got straight to the point. The man's expression changed slightly, and he heard her continue. "Elias, this is not you. The you I remember would overcome any difficulty, and would never give up on life. The way you are now, wallowing in self-pity, only tortures you and affects no one else, including me." Elias looked bitter, his grip on the door frame tightening. He had never thought of giving up on life. That thought had only crossed his mind when he first reunited with Amelia. Now Amelia was going abroad, to a place he did not know, and he had no idea when she would return. From childhood to adulthood, Elias has separated from many people. In his youth, he first sent away his parents who died in battle. When he was young, Gloria suddenly left him as well. Now even Amelia doesn't want him anymore. For a moment, he began to feel lost, unsure of how to move forward into the future. That is why he would feel despondent and refuse to undergo surgery. Now Amelia has pulled him out of the abyss with her own hands. A wave of shame spread throughout his body, and he deeply lowered his head. Amelia was moved when she saw him, letting out a soft sigh. "Let's go to the hospital for preoperative preparations." In the hospital, Elias fell into a deep sleep after being injected with the relevant medication, and only then did the attending physician call Amelia out of the ward. As Elias's family member, she has the obligation to know about his condition. The doctor said that Elias missed the best treatment opportunity due to the 2 years of delay. Although having surgery now is like closing the barn door after the horse has bolted, he will still need medication for the rest of his life. He has to take medicine every day. In addition, he must not get too emotionally agitated. If he faints due to excessive excitement, it will be impossible to save him. After nodding to send off the doctor, Amelia stayed in the hospital. She had taken care of all her matters, and now there was nothing else to occupy her. Chapter 25. In the time that followed, Amelia stayed by Elias's side. She really was just keeping him company. All of Elias's needs were taken care of by the nanny at home. Perhaps due to the medication, Elias seemed to be in much better condition. With the attending physician's permission, Elias was finally able to go out for a walk, but he couldn't walk too far. After just a few steps, Elias couldn't bear it anymore and had to sit down on a nearby bench. Amelia said nothing either and sat down with him. City, the autumn sun was particularly warm. Amelia watched the pedestrians on the street, and her heart gradually calmed down. After an unknown amount of time, Amelia suddenly felt a chill on her hand. She looked down and found that a star bracelet had suddenly appeared on her wrist. Amelia was puzzled when she heard Elias chuckle softly. "When you were a child, you heard somewhere that making a wish on a star would make your dreams come true. As long as there are stars, you would run to the yard to make a wish." Amelia also remembered. It was just that the wish she made was not fulfilled by the stars, but rather by Elias. Elias was still continuing to speak. "This star bracelet was specially made for you by someone I entrusted, hoping that all your wishes in the future will come true." Amelia said nothing, just silently tucked the bracelet into her pocket. "Thank you, Elias." Elias coughed a few times and did not say anything further. After sitting on the bench for a while, Elias offered to take her out for a meal. Originally, Amelia wanted to refuse, but he said to consider it a practice for her. After the steaming dishes were served, Elias began to serve her food again. "Eat more of this fish. It's good for your health." Amelia suddenly recalled the past when she saw the fish in the bowl. Back then, she either didn't love eating or was a bit picky. She wouldn't eat this and would complain about that. "Elias, A person who was strict and decisive would patiently follow her with the bowl and chopsticks. He coaxed her to eat, saying that if she ate this, she would become beautiful, and if she ate that, she would be healthier. Moreover, his cooking skills were excellent, and over time, she became less picky. Amelia hesitated for a moment, picked up the fish from the bowl, and put it in her mouth. After finishing the meal, Elias took her to explore other places. Every time they arrived at a place, he would recall the amusing stories related to her from the past. In the end, if it weren't for the guard coming to find him at the doctor's request to return to the hospital, I'm afraid Elias would still want to take her for a walk. After returning to the hospital, Elias swallowed a large handful of medicine under the nurse's instructions. If it were Amelia, she might have to suffer for a long time, but Elias calmly finished it all. And this is just the beginning. Every day in the future he will have to take so many medications. Amelia pinched her palm, feeling a slight bitterness spreading in her throat, but she still said nothing. Yet the emotions in her eyes were still understood by Elias. He smiled at her, not bitter. Could anything be more painful than the suffering she had endured before? 3 days before the surgery, the nanny had to go home to get some clean clothes for Elias. Amelia thought for a moment and also went back to the Liu family. While the nanny was packing clothes for Elias, Amelia was sitting at the desk, writing something on paper with a fountain pen. By the time the nanny finished tidying up, Amelia had also packed her things and sealed the credit letter she had written. On the day of the surgery, Elias was visited by many people. The gifts sent filled the entire ward. After Elias expressed his gratitude to each visitor, he was finally pushed into the operating room. Just before entering the operating room, Elias suddenly grabbed Amelia's hand. Will you wait for me? Amelia looked into his pleading eyes and suddenly remembered how she had once looked at Elias before her own surgery. At that time, he firmly held her hand and nodded vigorously. Yes, I will wait for you to come out. I promise you. The first person you see when you come out will be me. Amelia shook Elias's hand. Yes, I will wait for you. Elias finally felt completely at ease, releasing her hand as he was pushed into the operating room by the nurse. The lights in the operating room began to illuminate. Each minute was a torment for those waiting outside. Amelia thought for a moment and still advised everyone to go back first, saying that everything here was under her control. The crowd also expressed understanding and gradually left. But there were still a few respected individuals who kept their people behind to accompany her. When the first ray of morning sunlight shone through the glass onto Amelia's face, the lights in the operating room finally went out. Amelia quickly stood up, watching as the person lying on the hospital bed was pushed out, and Elias's attending physician finally took off the mask, a weary face full of smiles. The surgery was very successful. Amelia's hands, which had been tightly clenched, finally relaxed. After undergoing a major surgery, Elias had been asleep for 3 whole days. Amelia originally planned to wait for him to wake up so she could say a proper goodbye before leaving. However, Elias still hadn't woken up, and the school was starting to urge her. Amelia thought for a moment, then got up and walked outside, handing the letter she had written long ago to Elias's guard. Please make sure to pass this to Elias when he wakes up. Then she walked away without looking back. Not long after Amelia left, the comatose Elias finally woke up. He was vaguely calling out Amelia's name, but he waited a long time without hearing her response. Elias struggled to leave the ward, but the doctors and guards rushing in from outside quickly stopped him. One helped Elias stay calm, while the other hurriedly handed him the farewell letter left by Amelia. At the airport, Amelia was quietly sitting aside, waiting for the boarding announcement after the class reunion. She watched her classmates and their families bidding farewell to each other, feeling an inexplicable twinge of envy in her heart. From childhood to adulthood, whenever Amelia was about to leave, no one ever came to see her off. At that moment, the announcement for Amelia and her group to board the plane suddenly rang out. As Amelia was about to leave with her suitcase, a familiar voice sounded from behind her. Aim. Before Amelia could react, she was embraced in a warm hug. Looking at Elias in his hospital gown, a hint of surprise flashed in Amelia's eyes. Elias. Elias held her tightly, as if he wanted to merge her into his very bones. It wasn't until the announcement urged Amelia and her group again that Elias finally let her go. Looking at Amelia in front of him, Elias had so much to say. In the end, all the words converged into one sentence. Aim. Take care. Amelia felt a strange ache in her heart and smiled faintly. Elias, you take care too. It wasn't until she boarded the plane that Amelia discovered an envelope of money that Elias had slipped into her pocket. She smiled gently, looking out at the scenery, silently reciting in her heart, Elias, goodbye.